Folks, welcome to an all new So Bad It's Good. This is your pal Ryan, and this is your Thursday episode. Yeah, that's right, it's Thursday. This is a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills recap from this week's very interesting and this episode had layers. The more the first time I watched it through, I was like, oh, there was it was very intense, and then I watched it a second time, and I appreciated it more, and then I just watched it a third time because I'm insane, and I was like, this is very. This is if you, it's like peeling an onion. There are layers here, and there is such family and generational trauma, mainly coming from Sutton's family. But I thought it was very interesting, but also a departure because last week's episode, I was like, okay, we are getting on track. You had that kooky Capri lunch or dinner over at Kathy Hilton's place where Kathy called PK PJ. And we had this, Erica Jane advising Dorit, like, you got to get out of there, girl. You got to run. Because he had sent her like a 7-page email saying she was going to have to start paying for the house or he was going to file for divorce, which still doesn't really make complete sense. And then you had the other ladies in Augusta visiting Sutton's house and her mom Reba. And I was like, this was a really good balance. And I was like, oh, it is gonna go nuts next episode. And it didn't go nuts in the way that I thought it did. Like we were teased with that scene of Garcelle approaching Reba and saying like, well, you should tell Sutton you love her. And she's like, mind your business. Just mind your business. And I thought things were gonna completely pop off. But there ended up actually being kind of a conversation, and it actually took a different turn than I expected it to turn. So I find it interesting, though, because a lot of the times with housewife shows, we come for these insane fights, or sometimes we expect these insane fights, and this didn't have that. It was very like hour-long prestige drama. Like I felt like at times this could have been a spin-off of an HBO show, if that makes sense. So there were a lot of things that I did end up loving about this episode that I didn't like at first. If that, so we're going to cover all of that. I want to say a few things up top, and then we will get into that, and we'll be silly and goofy, and hopefully we can all laugh together because God knows we need more of that. How are you? Are you hanging in there? You're almost through, guys. You're almost to the end of the week. And tonight we got Southern Charm, Southern Hospitality, and The Traitors on television. We have a new episode of Scamanda over there on ABC. We got plenty of stuff to keep our mind off everything else. And then Friday's Friday. So it's great. We're good. We're solid. I wanted to bring up something sort of serious. Okay, so this is semi-serious in the Bravo universe, but I wanted to mention it as that Teddy Mellencamp, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and obviously Two T's in a Pod with Tamra Judge, the podcast. She revealed today that she had to have emergency surgery to remove 2 brain tumors. Now, this comes directly from her Instagram account. She writes, for the last several weeks, I've been dealing with severe and debilitating headaches. Yesterday, the pain was unbearable and required hospitalization. After a CT scan and an MRI, doctors found multiple tumors on my brain, which they believe have been growing for at least 6 months. 2 of the tumors will be surgically removed today. The remaining smaller tumors will be dealt with via radiation at a later date. I am blessed to be surrounded by my children, family, friends, doctors, nurses, and surgeons who are doing everything possible to get me back into better health. Thank you to everybody who has reached out and to everyone who has supported me along this journey. And she even posted getting her head shaved pre-surgery, and it looks like she has this amazing attitude. It looks like she's handling this with grace and a little bit of humor. And there was even, I didn't see this, but somebody sent it to me, that Kyle was there and Morgan Wade was there. But it seems like she obviously has a lot of friends around her and hopefully a lot of love. And, this is the thing, and we've talked about this before, is we may make fun of a character on a reality show or something doesn't jive with how you personally feel about, but when it comes to illness or any, like, I don't want anything bad to happen to any of these people in terms of their health. My God. And I will just say this, fuck cancer, fuck tumors, fuck all of the, sorry to use the strong language, but I see this and just, there is nothing but support and we God, like no, this can't happen. And it just it was, and she's already dealt with skin cancer this past year, and now this, and I know she's going through things with her marriage, so I'm sure it is just. And to be able to, like, by the way, I was just thinking, like, if something like this happens to me, you'd see me on Instagram going, help me, please. This isn't fair. Why? I really truly think that's probably how I would handle it. And then you see somebody handle it, like, I'm sure she's freaking out internally, but calmly and coolly and all that stuff. And I think that is impressive. And it does obviously pull at my heartstrings too, because of my mom. And I remember there when I was with my mom, when she got her head shaved, in those last, I don't know how long before she passed before we did that, but her friend came over with the hair clippers. And I was sitting there, I was the emotional one, and she was awesome. She was like, yeah, cool, good. I like the hair on my head. She was so upbeat and positive, and I still have, which is, now that I'm saying this out loud, is I still have some of that hair. I still have some of my mom's. I'm gonna clone her one day. I do have some of I kept some of the hair scraps. Isn't that crazy? Wow? I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, so we wish Teddy Mellencamp the best. We want her to be better. We want to get her to the point where, we can get her back on one of these shows and make fun of her again, right? No. I just, that really kind of gave me pause today. So heart totally goes out. Moving on, Summer House, we will be doing a full recap on Friday's episode, but I don't know if you watched the season premiere, and I told you to wait until the very end, and so finally we can talk about it a second, and I'll go really much further into it on Friday because I got some thoughts, but basically it picked up cameras 4 months later. And it was Lindsay, Paige, and Amanda Batula in their apartment. And Paige said, oh, he's going to make me out to look like a liar, like I cheated. And he said, I caught him texting 2 bitches during the course of our relationship. And now something like he's dead to me. So that was this mini scene. So obviously we're going to have to wait all flipping season until to see the remaining portion of this scene. But I saw it last week when I watched the show for the first time, and I was like, oh shit, the fan base is going to ignite. We got really hardcore Paige fans and we got really hardcore Craig fans. And I posted it on my Instagram, and I hate it. People are already fighting in my comments. I'm like, guys, there are better things to fight. Like, get involved in government. Please fight about that. But Paige and Craig, they're going to be okay. But it's that another piece, that little piece of information, like just breadcrumbing us. And I keep pointing this out, is that Bravo does this thing where they'll give us like one sentence of a scene, and then it turns out to be nothing. Seth Marks, as an example, remember at the reunion, like Andy said, hey, by the way, there's rumors that you have a side chick in Ohio. And Seth was like, yeah, I don't got no side chick. My only side chick is my hand, because I masturbate. I've got 2 of them. And it was a non-issue, and it just kept going. And they made it out to be like something was like, oh my, I remember seeing the trailer going, whoa, my God. And there was nothing. So maybe this is something that is just going to be fully explained away. Like the next sentence Paige says is something like, yeah, it turned out to be nothing, but Bravo knows what they're doing, and it's going to keep people engaged. Remember, we have the cameras picking back up for Southern Charm to get Craig's POV, and then we have it now to get Paige's POV, which is only fair. But I thought overall, the Summer House made me laugh. It's just Jesse Solomon, this kid reminded me of like an 8-year-old. He was just like, he was all gaga goo goo over this new girl. The new girls look way too young in the Summer. You know what it is? I'm just getting way too old. And I was like, should I be watching this? I might have Did Summer House pass? Like, I'm comfortable watching Kyle and Amanda and Lindsay. Like, we're all getting older. And then I'm like watching like two 24-year-olds. And I'm like, should I be doing this? Am I on a watch list now? But I had such a good time watching it. And I can't wait to recap it for you guys on Friday. This episode today is dedicated to Ryan. You know who you are, not me, another Ryan, and Godzi. Godzi, rest in peace. We love you. So I wanted to say that as well. If you get a second and you like the show, consider giving it a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We've had a great lineup of shows this week. We had Ben and Ronnie, Watch What Crappens. We had Brian Moylan. We had the 2 matchmakers from the new Hulu reality series Muslim Matchmaker yesterday. We had Sophie Ross. I mean, the hits keep coming. I am working my little Tootsie off. Where do I even get these? I've told you I stole my mom's hair and I work my little tootsies off. How are you today? I hope you're hanging in there. Let's see what else. I'm back on Jeff Lewis Live on Monday. He's in New York this week, but I'll be back on Monday. I don't know who I'm with. And I'm a little nervous because I'm the first hour, so that usually means it's a bigger guest. So I'm legitimately scared to find out who I am on there with, but I'm excited to be back. And also get your tickets to ChumpCon. ChumpCon in Vegas, I believe, is April 11th, 12th, and 13th. And it is all your favorite chumps there. So get your tickets for ChumpCon. It is going to be truly a disaster of epic proportions. And I mean that with a wink. Listen, I'm somebody that always wanted to be at Firefest, so I think this will be amazing, and it will be fun because this is the first time that Jeff is doing this, and I think from what I hear, there will be others to come. So you want to be at that first one where it is, you know, where like legends will happen. You know, people will lose their lives. It'll be just insanity from top to bottom. So that's out there as well. Hello to my Patreon members. What up, baddies? And that's it. I've been I did therapy today. We tried to work on being grateful. We tried to work. I was talking about how I'm trying to get in a better shape, and I have one of the baddies. Her husband is a trainer. And I keep meaning to call her, but I'm trying to like go on walks and get my breath control back from the sinus surgery before I call her husband, because I was like, oh, I want to get in sort of shape before I try to get in real shape. I'm trying like pre-working out before I work out. But I was talking to my therapist about like, man, I don't want to do any of this stuff. I just want to watch TV and I have to go out and do stupid workouts. And then we try to reframe it and be grateful that I can actually use my legs and work out. So working on that, working on trying to be grateful. And today, dude, I talked to Jason Waller. Remember Jason Waller from the Hills and Laguna Beach? We had the most intense, beautiful conversation about addiction. And, you know, it was he was so open and honest about everything that he's been through. And it just blew me away because I just remember watching him on the Hills when it was first out and Laguna Beach when it was first out. And just to think where he is now and how much work he has put into his sobriety and how much he is helping people by talking about this way. So I think that episode is going to come out next week, but I was really blown away by our conversation. It kind of moved me. That's that thing too, is like, this is why I like to do these recaps like extra silly, because you have these serious conversations and it really does like sit with you. And I think that's a good thing. You want to take something with you from anything that you do, but then you need to like let off some steam and you got to do some Sutton voice. I say, you got to do, I don't care if you like it or not, audience. I'm doing it for me. I say. So yeah, we got to be extra goofy, even though very serious topics in tonight's Beverly Hills recap, because we of course talk about Sutton's father. And this is a trigger warning. We've already talked about Teddy, but like, you know, Sutton's father, if you watch the show, took his own life in 2002. And we will be talking about that, but just the intensity of those stories, or that story, it really shows you how that family was shaped in these last couple of decades, especially, and why Sutton is the way she is based on what we've seen from Reba. I mean, this is like textbook, you know, and then you add the South on top of that. I mean, it is. And by the way, the more I'm in Augusta with this show, I'm like, do we need a Real Housewives of Augusta? and like let Reba be like do whether wait, can we do like the Golden Real Housewives? They do the Golden Bachelor. Should we do it with the Real Housewives and just like you have to have all ladies 70 years old and above? Like that's not a bad idea. Bravo, do not steal that. I will fully sue. Thank you to, as always, to Juliana Carroza, who takes the most amazing notes. She's been with me for a while now, and she does Beverly Hills. You can always tell I do the other shows because there's like a lot of stop starting, and they're way longer because I don't know what the F I'm doing. So she is so dialed in. So Juliana, thank you. We had a great text exchange today. So thinking about you. This is episode 11 of the season 14. It's called Mind Your Business. I wish they said Y-O, but it's mind Y-O-U-R, but I would like mind your business. And the description that the cable company gives us says, Sutton takes Garcelle and Kyle to visit her childhood home as old wounds are reopened. Dorit and PK reconnect, but Erica senses a trap. This PK has trapped Dorit. And Bose is ready for the next step of her fertility journey. And very exciting this week, we finally realized that Bose does belong on The Real Housewives because her storyline is that her boyfriend and her have not said I love you yet, but they are going forward with trying to have a child. Now, I'm not the smart, like I'm Forrest Gump. I'm not a smart man, but I thought you were supposed to say you love each other before you have a baby. And they're doing it the opposite way, and it didn't really. But that's where you're like, oh, Bose, you're quirky too. That's a little weird. That is a little weird. I love you. You're very smart. You're a perfect addition. But now I'm like, okay. But that's the thing. We always have these like little quirks about ourselves that you're like, oh, no, it's fine. And then you tell somebody and they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? What are you doing? Are you kidding me? So I kind of was like relieved to hear Bose say this because I was like, oh, good. I thought you were going to be just the reliable narrator that never did anything weird. But I was like, okay. Good. Yeah, you belong here. Because if you had a friend that said, oh, I'm having a baby with this guy, we haven't said I love you yet, wouldn't you be like, maybe don't have the baby? Wouldn't you say that? Now, of course, this is reality TV, so I have a feeling that we will see them say I love you to each other by the end of the season. I want to believe this is real and not just a reality show storyline, so we will believe it's real. We always start the episodes with scenes from previous week's episodes, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and we start with Erica talking to Dorit, and Erica is like, it's time to let go of the past. I'm Erica Jane. And Dorit's like, I love it. And Erica in a talking head is like, redoing the living room is a step in the right direction. Remember, that's Erica's big storyline, is that she is getting a home renovation from this guy, Martin. Oh, I'm going to renovate everything, Erica. I'm going to renovate this home, and then I'm going to renovate your body. Keely, Bose's boyfriend, in a scene says, do you think there's any pressure? You're like, okay, Keely really wants a baby. And Bose is like, if I want to carry a baby myself, I don't have a whole lot of time to do it. And then we cut to Dorit at Kathy's Capri dinner. And Dorit's like, I didn't think he'd be doing what he's doing now. And Kathy's like, well, what is he doing? And Dorit's like, well, he said, I'm going to stop paying this and you're going to be liable for this. And Erica immediately speaks up. You have to protect yourself. You have to go. This is not my partner. This is my adversary now. I like that. You're at war with PJ. And then a scene with Sutton to Kyle going, I'm going to Augusta to see my mother, and I thought maybe you might want to join us in sweaty Augusta. And then we're in Augusta, and Garcelle is talking to Reba, Sutton's mom. It's like, hello, it's so good to see you. Sutton in a talking head says, well, I really want to fix my relationship with my mother now. I feel like it's a bit strained. Yeah, for the last 50 years. Garcelle is in a scene with Sutton saying, do you just want her to acknowledge, like, I'm proud of you? Well, I want her to respect me, Garcelle. Maybe that's what I'm actually looking for. A little RESPECT. We pick up in the deep south of Sutton's hometown, Augusta, Georgia. Sutton is getting ready. She's talking to herself. You got to put some makeup on. Where have I taken off my diamonds? Oh, did Ivy steal my diamonds? Maybe they're in the bathroom. And Garcelle's in her room going, all right, Augusta, here we go. And then Kyle enters the house. She's huffing and puffing. And Reba, Sutton's mom's in the kitchen. Hey, you been running? And Kyle's out of breath. I've been running. I have a bone to pick with your daughter. She told me to go out of the house and make a left, and then to go left on Henry. There was no Henry. And Reba's like, Henry's back there. In fact, you got to the cemetery. The way you were going, you would have to run to China and back without seeing it. But don't go ever again this late. When I used to run at 5:30 or 6, probably because it's very humid in Augusta. I also like that Sutton was like, potentially there was like a storyline where Sutton was trying to kill Kyle. She sent you to the cemetery. She was trying to off you, Kyle. Kyle tells Reba, well, you're very strong mentally. And Reba's like, yeah, I blame that on my father. I was his favorite child, so he taught me how to be very strong and independent, which is the same father-daughter dynamic as Sutton, right? So Kyle's like, what sign are you, Reba? I'm a Cancer, Kyle, but I'm not a typical Cancer. I told this to my friend last week. I said, I'm not a nurturer. She laughed. And Kyle's like, you're not a nurturer? No. And Avi enters the kitchen awkwardly. Hi, Miss Reba. Hello. Will you be joining us for brunch? Brunch? I thought we were having breakfast. And Avi's like, well, it's turned into brunch. Yes, I see that. Very Southern. Very like, I see you, Avi. You ain't doing your job. Kyle's like, well, I'm going to go have a shower. Think about Morgan. I'll talk to you. And Reba's like, yes, nice talking with you. Avi's like, would you want to go get dressed and come back for brunch? And Reba's like, why would I want to get dressed? And Avi's like, we're having a proper brunch. Well, I'm fully dressed right now. Oh, okay. I just thought if you want to go fluff up a little bit. No, I don't. Oh, okay. Oh, all righty. But I'll see you in a few minutes. And Avi's like, okay. I wonder what Avi, like if Avi is just stressed 24/7, like Sutton, he's probably got like a little bit of a handle on, and I'm sure she can be a wild card like day to day, but like Reba just throws like double trouble all the time. So like, I just imagine like he's just having chachis, his stomach's torn up. Avi spent a lot of time in the bathroom. I would love to see Avi's journal from this whole trip. Garcelle says, Sutton, I'm going down. And she said, Avi, what are you doing? And Avi has his head in the oven. That's how hard he's taking this job. No, he's just getting the grits. He's like, I'm checking up on the grits. We don't want to get them burnt. And Garcelle's like, are we eating outside? No, right over here. Oh, nice, Avi. So then let's set up. And Avi's like, well, I was just going to wait for Sutton's direction to set the table because, and he's just like sweating. You can see the pimples forming. And Garcelle's like, yep, I got it. We love her. And Avi's like, and we don't want to mess with the chakras today. And Garcelle's like, no. And Avi's like, not today. Upstairs, Kyle's showering and glamming, doing her hair. And Kyle's talking to Sutton going, I was talking to your mom. She's so great. And Sutton's doing her eye makeup in the mirror. Well, she's very interesting. And I understand more about her just in that little conversation that I had. And Sutton very curtly, just like her mom, says, What'd you learn? And Kyle says, she had a very tough dad. He taught her to be strong. She told me she was not a nurturer. And Sutton whips around. She said that, I say? Yeah, you got that out of her, Kyle. Yeah. And Sutton flips back to the mirror. Harumph. She's aware of that. Yeah. How long was your dad not well for? And Sutton's like, well, I noticed I was like 25, 26. In a talking head, Sutton says, I was in my 20s when I got the call. You need to come home. And it was very surprising for me. Like I didn't understand our father, who was our rock, could be starting to break. So this is like real Southern Gothic tragedy. And a lot of families go through this, but it's interesting placing this in the South and thinking about a girl in her 20s making her way in the world and being called home to somebody that was like the pillar of strength in her eyes, right? Now, Sutton to Kyle says, well, we put him in the hospital twice. And Kyle's like, really? I didn't know that. Oh, yeah. And I'm talking put him in the car, like shoved him in the car. Well, maybe we should have been maybe a little bit more gentle, but whatever. And Kyle's like, and what was going on with him? And Sutton's like, well, just a depressive state. He was on those drugs. And Kyle's like, for depression? Sleeping pills. Did he drink? In a talking head, Sutton says he was suffering from chronic depression. They had him on all these pills just to try to regulate stuff that wasn't working. He would go on and off them for years, and then he would self-medicate with alcohol, she tells us. He was very confused, talking a lot about how he wanted to kill himself. Didn't know what day it was, but he never went to therapy. It was just so disjointed, his treatment, his non-treatment. Now, let me throw this at you too. We find out that Reba is a flippin' therapist who is still working as a therapist. Yeah, sit with that for a second, folks. He was like, I know my wife. I'm not going to therapy. She's a therapist. I'm not doing that. But this is so sad, and he was obviously going through this real internal pain, and he was self-medicating, right? He would go on and off of medicine and try to feel good and then probably just drink. I mean, I'm just guessing, but a lot of people, through their lives, and especially this older generation, you find them self-medicate because they weren't encouraged as much as our generations or, to go to therapy and to talk about mental health. Like I remember mom, when I talked about wanting to go to therapy, at first she was like not down for it. She thought that meant something was wrong and potentially something she did was wrong. And it was never about that, right? But certain generation kind of still looks down on that a little bit and doesn't could you imagine living in this world that we live in today and just being okay? Like, I'm feeling great every day. Like, how could we? Just think about it. We see so many images every day. We're on our phones constantly. We have so many opinions coming at us at all times on top of our own everyday lives. How do you not need somebody to talk to? How do you not just need to get some of the words out of your mouth and out of your brain into somebody else's ears? So Kyle's like, he's passed when you were 31? 32. So 6 years. That Sutton came home and they dealt with his troubles. And Sutton's like, yeah. In a talking head, Sutton says, my father shot himself in December of 2002. So December 2002 is when he killed himself, Sutton says. And Kyle's like, you're so lucky to have your mom. And Sutton does a big sigh. Yeah. And around the holidays too, right? Around the holidays. And I don't know, I think this is okay to talk about, but we all have experienced people that have tried or have taken their lives. I think as you get older, unfortunately it is one of these things, and you just those moments that you can't get out of. And that's why, sometimes I'll get really, really depressed. And I have to remind myself, you're almost like tricking your own mind. I've always said like your mind kind of lies to you at times. And, you just have to remember to hold on, like as much as you don't feel like it, because, you could wake up tomorrow and you'll feel a little bit different or a little bit. You just never know. It's so sad, right? We buzz back down to the kitchen and Reba is hovering over this poor Avi, going to give him a heart attack. How many minutes has that been in there? An hour? You're burning the grits. And Avi's looking in the oven. Well, can you tell me? Can I take it out? Does that look good to you? Or should... All I think is you're doing is heating it up. Do you realize that? I like the subtext is, you stupid LA person. You got to go back to Los Angeles where they don't know how to spell grits. Avi's like, I don't want to overcook them. And Reba's like, well, you don't want dry grits. Turn it off. And Avi's like, that's what I asked, but okay. Reba is still overseeing. Well, what are these forks for? And Avi's like, well, if someone wants to cut a slice of cake. Oh, Avi to Reba. Well, didn't you want a drink? What am I making you? What do you have, Avi? And Garcelle enters the kitchen and Garcelle's like, how are you? You look good. Oh, thank you. No, your son's other friend, the one I don't like, the one that's not Kyle. Avi interjects and says, would you like a vodka lemonade, Reba? No, what else you got? Well, I could do a Bloody Mary. I can definitely do that. Yes. And by the way, did you notice the big Costco jug of Kettle One that looked like it was like really being worked through? Like they have got the industrial strength Kettle One bottle at Sutton's place. And I love that Sutton also has, Sutton and her mom drink alike even. And did you see when Sutton opened her fridge, she had the her Ocean Spray grapefruit juice that she likes to carry in her purse, but she had like a big jug of it in her fridge. And I was like, don't ever change, Sutton, unless, you need to. So Garcelle is trying to engage in a conversation with Reba and says, well, how did you sleep? Well, I think I slept pretty well. And Avi's like loudly scooping ice. And Reba's like, I was just telling Avi that. And she stops. I don't like that ice. I said, I don't like that ice. And Avi walks over to the freezer for different ice. This is such a rich household. We have different forms of ice. She reading this note from Juliana said, Reba reminds me of Driving Miss Daisy. Remember that movie? It was Morgan Freeman, Dan Aykroyd, and Jessica Tandy. It won a couple Oscars. I think Jessica Tandy might have won Best Actress that year. And I was like, that's great. Oh my God. I saw that movie when I was a kid. I should rewatch that. I'd probably appreciate it more. Garcelle's laughing in her talking head. Oh, let me just say this. Apple tree. Like apples don't fall far from the tree. We have a flashback to Sutton doing very similar things that we just saw Reba do. We have Sutton having Jennifer Tilly to lunch in her clothing shop. Remember that? They would just close the clothing shop during the day and just like, well, I want to invite my friends over for lunch. People are trying to like shop and looking into the windows. Like, oh, I'm going to have a 2-hour lunch in here when we should be open for business. Anyways, Jennifer is like, did you make that, Avi? And Sutton's like, where's the dressing, Avi? It's on the way, Sutton. He only has 2 hands. And Sutton to Avi's like, well, maybe we want water and tea. And then we have a flashback of Sutton in her closet talking sharply to Avi. Well, I need white jeans and I can't find them, I say, so I have to go buy some. And I don't like this plastic hanger. We know this. Garcelle continues in a talking head. Reba, Sutton, a little awkward, but somehow lovable. So Garcelle's talking to Reba and says, so you're still working as a therapist, right? Well, I'm quitting. Sorry, that's my bad Sutton. This is my bad Reba. I'm quitting in September. Well, how come? I mean, I'm 82. Like, how long you want me to work, Garcelle? Jeez. Shall we sit on the porch? And Garcelle's like, yeah, I would love it. I love the porch. And she cheers Bloody Marys. Cheers, Reba. Oh, thank you. You want some ice? No, I'm good. Being tropical, I don't really have a lot of ice. And Reba's like, oh, well, you want English, that's for sure. Like, oh, where are we going here? Where are we going? Please, no, Reba, please, stop. Garcelle kind of laughs and gasps and like, what? And they're on the back porch, and Garcelle goes, this is so lovely, Reba. Thank you for indulging us in this. I have such an affinity for your daughter. I think she would give the shirt off her back. I mean, it would be a very expensive shirt, but she would most likely give it. Do you know what I mean, Reba? She is just so generous. And Reba's like, she would do that, and she's always been like that. Well, I'm so happy you're having this one-on-one time together, and I wanted to talk to you because Sutton and I have had intimate conversations. No, not intimate like Kyle and Morgan, but intimate. We have a flashback to a month ago when Sutton's crying, I know she loves me. I just don't ever feel like she likes me. And I don't feel like I've ever made her proud or happy as a daughter. Remember, Sutton is very upset that her mom will bring up her ex-husband and be more impressed with anything that he does over anything that Sutton does. Now, remember also how proud people are in the South. And it is, it's definitely a quality, good and bad. But I kept thinking, like, of course she's going to be proud of this man bringing in tons of money. And I do also wonder if it is, but you also don't want people talking. Like, I don't want to be talked about. That's another thing in the South. Oh, don't embarrass me. And I do wonder if Reba is at all embarrassed by Sutton being on a reality television show where, you have extreme behavior. Well, we don't do that as ladies of the South. We don't say name them 30 times in a scene. I do wonder about what Reba thinks about Sutton being on television. So Garcelle to Reba says, she's so proud of how far she's come, and she would just love to hear you say that you're proud of her and that you love her too. I like Garcelle is Sutton's agent at this. We would love to get her a bigger trailer and 10%. Reba, just from this whole conversation, just stares at Garcelle and blinks. Just blank. I'm like, okay. Uh-oh, here we go. Garcelle goes, I feel like I can say something to you. And Reba goes, well, I don't think that's any of your business. I don't want to insult you. I think that you have no clue. And I was like, oh, fuck. It's that, remember A Christmas Story when Ralphie, they blow a tire on the side of the road and the dad gets out. He's like, like trying to get the tire. He has, a race to get the tire on. And Ralphie has the little screws to the tire and he's holding them and he slips and like drops all of the screws and he goes, "Fuck," and he says the Fuck word. And it's like, "Get in the car." And then they wash his mouth out with soap. That's what I did when I heard Reba go, "I think you have no clue." I went, "Fuck." And I was like, "Oh, we're going to go to the moon right now. It's going to get nuts." And it didn't. Garcelle goes, "You know what? You're right. I don't. I haven't lived with you guys. I haven't grown up with her. I don't know. You're right. I was just coming. It was just coming from a caring friend." "Oh, you're giving me a message. Is that it?" Well, maybe I am. Maybe I am the messenger. And Reba clocks this. She ain't stupid. She's like, "Okay, my coward daughter sent you. Oh, we got an enemy in our midst." But Reba gets it. She nods her head up and down like, "I get you. I feel I'll pick up what you're putting down." Meanwhile, inside, Sutton's giving instructions to Avi. "Why don't we transfer some of these flowers from the living rooms to the table?" Kyle enters the kitchen. "Hello, is anyone down here yet to eat?" Sutton answers, "Garcelle's talking to Mom." And she points where they're talking. Back to the scene, Garcelle goes, "Reba, I think for me, my mom being gone, I miss her so much, and I wish there were things that I'd said to her." And Reba's like, "Death is final, isn't it?" This could also be the start of a horror film. "Death is final, isn't it? And you're about to meet your maker, Garcelle." like, death is final. Garcelle goes, "Yes, it is." Reba's like, "You can't call your mother up and say da 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 da." I was like, sometimes I do miss calling up my mom and going da 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 da. Garcelle goes, "No," and I wish I could. I would give anything to do that. Sutton suddenly pops out the back door. "Would y'all like us to join us for brunch?" And Garcelle's like, "Oh my God, thank God. Yeah, you look so cute." "Well, thank you." And Reba's holding up her wrist. "We only been waiting since 8 o'clock. I ain't getting any younger." Sutton drops her mouth. "Why do you say things like that, Mom?" And Reba's like, "To show you love." And Sutton's fidgeting with the door and she won't look at her. "Oh, okay." Sutton, it's like this Arrested Development. She reverts. You see this little girl all of a sudden sometimes when she's around her mom, and she, like, you don't need a big screen TV to see how much Sutton needs the approval and love of her mom. And you can see that probably almost amplifies why Reba doesn't outwardly give it as much, because she sees how needy Sutton is for that. And I don't think Sutton is wrong, but I think Reba is so set in her ways. And I think she was probably described. I was on Mary Payne Gilbert's Pink Shade podcast today, which we had a blast. Great conversation. We talked about Little Bravo, but so many other things. So go check it out. She's great. But we were talking about, Reba is one of those ladies that have probably always been described over the years as cold. And sometimes as you get older, you're like, well, I'm not cold. They just don't understand me. But then you kind of just get more set like, "Oh, you going to call me cold? Well, I'm going to lean into being cold. I'm going to out cold all of you." And you kind of imitate this version of what people have described you as. And then you kind of like, "Well, this fits me like a glove. You want cold? I'll give you cold." And so I think there is a little bit of that, of leaning into Sutton's fear of her mother in some ways as well. Not like abject horror, but just, why isn't this easier? And it was probably easier with her dad. And they probably had, and in fact, we are told they had a closer relationship than Sutton and her mom did. And I was saying, it's so interesting. I have a better relationship with my dad now than I did when I was younger. We never had a bad relationship, but I think, looking back, this is a young man, came from Columbus, Ohio with mom. They really built up a life, straight middle class, but they, both grew up really dirt poor. Like dirt poor. My dad lived in a place with 1 bedroom and there were 4 kids. And they would all sleep in 1 bed. And, he became a businessman and he worked up he made a family. It was like the American dream, right? And then he has this kid, me, who was an angel, obviously. But also, I remember growing up and I wasn't into the things that all the other kids, like all the other boy kids, liked. I didn't find sports fascinating. And I didn't, like all the stuff that he liked. And I just sat in my room and read and daydreamed. And I was friends with all the girls on my street rather than the guys. And it even shocks me sometimes that I'm not gay. And I mean that as a compliment. But I know he didn't know how to communicate with me when I was a kid. And he was traveling Monday through Friday. He was a traveling salesman. He was gone. So I was raised by my mother, a lot of the times. He would always call, check in, all of that stuff, and the weekends. And, we obviously were a family, but that was some of my youth. And I can see how that affected me and I can see how that affected him. But we became much closer when, high school and after that. And I could see, how proud of me he was or is. And I've been able to, just doing this podcast when they used to come on all the time, if you went back and listened to those, or if you've been with me from the beginning, I got to have some of the best conversations ever with my mom and my dad through this. Got to hear stories that I never thought to ask. And he would open up about all of them, and it was so amazing. But relationships are so difficult sometimes because a lot of the best relationships out there aren't easy, and especially now with mom gone, it's interesting to we communicate and we're always texting or something. But it's hard because my mom and I had a very natural relationship. We understood each other. I think I understood her, and I know she understood me. And we had a secondhand, secondhand, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering on my words because I'm probably a little emotional, but we just knew how to communicate with each other. And my dad, it was a little tougher. And so it's hard with her, without her being that bridge. And it's but it's just interesting. Life is so filled with like all of these mysteries and these relationships that you put work into, and they only sometimes pay off years down the road. But I love this attempt, even if it's based on a reality TV show, of trying to say, I want to be close to you. I want your approval. And maybe it's not so bad to tell people what you need from them. I mean, don't be an asshole about it. Don't be a complete dick. But, maybe it's okay. Like, that's the other thing, too, is that I've got like two modes. I'll be very cold and withdrawn, or I will be so affectionate and I'm so willing to like go like be like, oh, I love you too, like even with like friends, like, oh, I love you, like I want that. I'm very sensitive. I don't know what I'm talking about, you guys. Sorry, it's been a long day. Why that really? You're not my therapist. You're not Reba. Sorry, guys. Anyways, Garcelle talking to us says, we all joke around that Reba's tough, and Sutton obviously knows her mom's tough. And Garcelle's getting up to go inside. She's like, ma'am, well, thank you for your time. And Reba's like, never come back. No, she goes, oh, you're welcome. That'll be $1,000. She is a trained therapist. Garcelle continues in the talking head. Somewhere along the way, Reba got really hurt and shut down. And that's what we're seeing. No, I feel I know why. She stops herself in the talking head. She goes, Sutton had a relationship with her dad that she didn't have with her mom. And I think there was some jealousy there. Now, Kyle in the kitchen's like, can I help you with anything? And Sutton's like, no, let's eat. Reba's holding up this orange cloth napkin. It's like, this is a great color. Reminds me of Avi's ass. No, she's like, this is a great color. And Sutton's like, well, they gave those to me because I ordered like 100 napkins. Great detail that we needed. They end up moving the flowers off the table that Sutton put there because they can't see each other. And Sutton's making some small talk. Well, that wasn't a good idea. Those flowers, they were pretty for a second. But, Reba's like, has anybody had any of these grits? And Sutton's like, they're hot. They are good. And Garcelle's like, oh, these grits are good. And then to Kyle, you didn't have any. Kyle pauses. I'm going to next. I swear. No, I eat grits. I eat Southern food. Don't look at me like that. No. Don't tell Morgan. Reba goes, she thinks you put sugar on them. Reba goes, she thinks you put sugar on them. Reba might actually be a decent therapist. She got weird food issues. You ever noticed that? Garcelle goes, well, some people eat them with sugar, but I don't get that. And Reba's like, only northern people. Those disgusting northerners. My dad loved grits growing up, and I tried them a couple of times, and I didn't see, I had the cheesy grits, the regular grits. I don't think I have a taste for grits. I mean, I think, anyways, I'm one of those weird northerners. Son's like, I love all the houses in Augusta. They're all kind of different. The house where we grew up was built in 1933. And Reba corrects, 1938, Sutton. 1938, like I said. So I was thinking that I might take them by and see it. And Reba just nods. It's just around the corner. And Reba repeats, it is just around the corner. And there's this weird kind of tension. Like Deliverance. Ding, 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 ding. And Sutton and the Talking Heads like, I want to go back to my childhood home. There's one big reason I want to show Kyle and Garcelle where I grew up, because I did love that house. And it was wonderful. All of us had great memories in that house until December 23rd, 2002. And that, obviously, the day her father took his life. God. This episode really did, the more I watch it, just think so much about my family, because obviously very different than this, but in just your childhood home. And I officiated the wedding of two beautiful baddies out there in Kansas, Olathe, Kansas, where I grew up. And I hadn't been back to Kansas in 2 decades, something crazy. And got there, and I went to my childhood home on Claiborne Street, and it was wild. This is where I grew up. Until I was 13, and then we moved to Arizona. But that was prime childhood memories. And Kansas was this beautiful place where you could daydream, and there were trails and humid, but it was. And I went to my junior high, and then I went to my elementary school, and where I would walk the track at recess, and I would walk with this girl, Lisa O'Connor, who was my friend, and we were kind of nerds, and we didn't really have tons of friends, if my memory serves me correct, and we would just walk the track, were you like that? Were you one of the track walkers, trying to fit in, trying to find a way to fit in? But I got to see all of this stuff and think about all of these memories. And I wanted to do that. Obviously, this couple was awesome. And it was so awesome that they asked me. It really was such a special experience. But also, Mom had just passed, and I wanted to feel those memories again, Anyways, Kyle's like, so we're going to go see the house today, and we're going to go inside. And Reba Sharpless is like, no, we are not going inside. Somebody lives there. And Kyle makes her big eyes like, zoinks. Very subtle. Son's like, well, we might ring the doorbell. And Reba's like, oh, horrors, no. And Garcelle's like, you don't want to go inside? No, I don't want to go inside. Sutton and the Talking Head goes, I'm not going to do her voice. So when my dad shot himself, my mother was home. She was in the kitchen. She knew that he was taking sleeping pills. He was taking Xanax. He was self-medicating with alcohol. There was a loaded gun in the house, and he shot himself right then and there. So maybe I do have a little pent-up resentment. There, I said it. A little? So obviously you read this, or you see this, and you're like, the mom was there. She, there's this normal thought you would have of this happened on your watch. You were right there. You were one room away. You knew he had been drinking. You knew you lived with this man. You knew his mental state through the years. You knew there was a loaded gun. If something like this, you take the loaded gun away, but it's the South. It's different. But of course there's pent-up resentment. Reba goes, all right, what's next? We've been sitting here a long time. And Garcelle's like, well, thank you. The food was yummy. Now, a producer to Sutton and the Talking Head says, is your mom trying to deal with this at all? And Sutton tears up and shakes her head. And she's like, no. Now, her mom, once again, is a therapist. A therapist that probably doesn't go to therapy. A therapist also that never probably... This is another thing me and Mary Payne were talking about today. It's one of those things that you would kind of theorize maybe that she was probably in such survival mode herself that when her husband did this, she was in such self-survival mode that she couldn't make sure her kids were okay with everything. Like, they'll take care of themselves, having to inward because I'm sure, but I just keep going back to her mom's a therapist, for the love of God. Like, I gotta, if anybody out there is listening that is an actual patient of Reba, can I interview you on the podcast? Like, are you doing okay? Like, she told me to hurt myself. Like, are you okay? Like, I love tough love, but maybe not this tough. Well, you got to get off your fat ass, Ryan. You complain too much. You dilly-dally. You make your podcast too long. You got big old thighs. I don't like it. I don't like you. The cut of your jib. Like, she would scare the shit out of me. So Garcelle goes, I'm going to go grab my purse upstairs. And Reba's like, where are you going? And Kyle makes another shocked face. It's not comfortable. I also didn't know what this was like. Reba's like, where? You going to go steal things upstairs, Garcelle? Anyway, Sutton has to remind her, Mom, we're going to visit the house. Sutton finishes in a talking head. Oh, that's a lot I just said. Like, we don't talk about this. This is what I'm talking about, Southern pride. Do you think Reba obviously knows she's on the show. Does Reba watch the show? And for something like that, something so personal, is Reba cool with it? Anyways, Sutton to her mom says, I'm going to give you a full report. And Reba's like, I don't want one. Sutton pretends to be busy. Well, where in the hell did these things go? Okay, so that is our big opener. And we change locations. And all of a sudden, we are out of Augusta, Georgia, where I was like, this is like the midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. And we are in Beverly Hills. This is such a weird toned episode because, like I said, last week we were starting to ramp up. And then all of a sudden, we are in serious issue land, like dealing with family trauma. And I thought, man, part of me almost wanted the entire episode to be in Augusta because then it's like weird breaking it up with these kind of side scenes. I'm like, oh, like I was just in like deep psychosis. And now we're like, Erica's like, I'm getting my pool done. Yeah. Anyways, we're at Erica's pool house where workmen are doing just about everything all at once. And Erica FaceTimes Dorit. Hi.
There you are. You ready? First off, this place is a disaster, but look at what's happening in here.
And she turns her video to show them taping off and painting her cabana. It's bright white. And the only disappointment I also had with this scene was that Martin wasn't in it. Oh, do you miss me, Ryan? I really bring a lot of spice to Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Maybe next season I can come in and clean up Kyle's place and give a little playroom for her and Morgan. Anyways, Dorit is excited that the cabana's getting a facelift and the wallpaper is going to be in over the weekend. So Erica, obviously this is leading up to a big reveal of Erica's new house. And it's very exciting for Erica. And a talking head, Erica says,
I've been under a microscope since the day I left Tom.
And we see old headlines. Erica Jane refuses to hand over $750,000 diamond earrings after trustee learns Tom Girardi bought them for her with client money. So all of these headlines that we've talked about for so many seasons now, 2 or 3, and Erica continues,
financially, socially, emotionally, I couldn't have done anything right. So God forbid, anything I make, I spend on myself.
And we flash back to earlier in the season when Erica had that new Porsche delivery. Like, yeah, buy things for yourself, but like, just do it with an eye on you might be broke down the line. And I think also from my perspective as an audience member, sometimes you're like, I hope this is just your money and you're not also depending on the kindness of another old man, which I guess when I think about it, it's like if old men want to throw money at hot people, do it. I guess that's what, I don't, where do you guys stand on this? But my thing is like, it is just hard because like, yeah, you will always be talked about in the same breath as Tom Girardi. That's your lot in life. That's what you signed up for, right? Fuck around and find out. And she found out. And I just was like wondering if that taught her anything overall. If she's like, you know what, instead of a Porsche, I'm going to get a really nice Corolla. Like imagine that being pulled up with a bow. I think that would be so impressive. Like top of the line Toyota Corolla, not like the one I have, top of the line. What if that, like, you'd be like, wow, Erica really learned a lesson and she's thinking with her brain, Maybe that's just me. But But anyways, Erica finishes. She says,
I mean, there were some people that said I shouldn't even be able to work and have money.
So Erica tells Dorit that she just loves this little house, but the energy has changed so much. And she says, I just can't thank Martin enough. And Dorit's like, you deserve it.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Oh my God, Dorit, you know what it is? We should do a spinoff where Dorit moves in with Erica and little Jagaloo in Phoenix. And Erica's like,
I ain't your mom, little girl. Get out of here. I'm trying to get Frankie.
Erica in a talking head says,
For almost 5 years of hell, I'm excited about life again, and I feel really good about that because that's a signal to myself that you're returning back to normal. You're getting there. You're slowly making your way back to a place that you recognize. I'm not someone who sleeps till noon, and I was sleeping till noon if I got out of the bed.
remember the stories back in the day when she'd be like, I ate a bunch of Taco Bell last night and passed out. Like, to me, that's relatable. But I was like, yeah, you're a normie like us. Anyways, they're just talking about Erica's journey and feeling good about herself. So Erica, great. Now, a new scene brings us over to Bose's house. And Bose is talking to Lael and her daughter, and she says, Lael and I are really, really tight. It's just been her and I for 10 years. What I do affects her. What she does affects me. Like, there's no one else. And so they're just chitter-chattering, and, Lael's talking about volleyball and her friends, and, I don't know, they have this kind of like, your little friends? And Lael's like, yeah, say your big friends. I don't know. They're talking about all of their friends. And we flash back to their workout earlier in the day between Bose and Keely, her boyfriend. And Bose says, I do think it's important to get to know Keely. Sorry, no, Bose and Lael. Bose says, I do think it's important to get to know Keely because we're getting serious, telling her daughter this. And I want you to have a good relationship with him. And Lael's like, wait, quick question. How long have you been dating Mr. Keely? And Bose is like, 8 months. Is this like if they've been dating 8 months, wouldn't Lael already kind of be a little more familiar with him and not be calling him Mr. Keely? Lael says, because you told me in December, but I didn't know if you guys were officially dating yet. You just said you were friends, and then you gave me eyebrows. I don't know exactly what that meant. And they laugh, and Lael, lowering her voice, says, you said, so one of my friends is coming to Ghana. And Bose says, girl, why are you imitating me like that? This is not how I talk. And Lael says, you probably didn't, but I didn't know if you guys were dating. And Bose is like, yeah, we were dating at that point. I mean, the man's going to fly halfway around the world to see you. Bose in a talking head says, the first time Lael met Keely was when he spontaneously showed up in Ghana. I mean, come on. If we all haven't spontaneously showed up in Ghana, I mean, that's dime a dozen. She goes, and I had to quickly explain to her, okay, this guy that I'm dating is coming to visit us. And she was like, where? In Ghana? And I'm like, yes. This is when you realize Bose has more housewives tendencies, like Real Housewives tendencies. That's a little kooky too, right? Bose in the scene says, things are moving for me and for Keely in a way that is surprising for all of us. And as you know, your mom is not a spring chicken, and at my age, it would be better for us if we wanted to have a child to do it sooner rather than later. How do you feel about that? And Lael's like, I feel good about it. I feel okay with it. And Bose is like, tell me you're okay with it. And she's like, I don't want you to be, I'm trying to think of the right words. And Bose is like, you can say any words. And Lael's like, I'll be leaving and then you won't have a kid to raise anymore. And Bose says, do you want me to have a kid because you're afraid I'm going to be lonely? And Lael says, I think our bond is changing, Mom. And not in a bad way, but in an evolving way. And now I kind of want you to share that bond with someone else. Bose in a talking head says, I am shocked at this response. I don't even know how she came to this. Where is my baby who threw a tantrum when I suggested there would be another sibling? I'm just so thankful that she is open to this. And Bose says, and what about Keely? Well, I think I kind of did it backwards. I'm like, would you accept a baby? And then I'm like, would you accept Keely? And they laugh. And Lael's like, I'm like, no, find someone else. And Bose is like, well, I love you. And Lael's like, I love you too. Very cute, little kooky. I like it. We return to the heat of the action in Augusta, Georgia. The ladies are getting ready to see Sutton's childhood home. Avi drives them. I mean, this legitimately is a reboot of Driving Miss Daisy at this point. Okay, so they were in Augusta, and Garcelle's like, bye, Reba. And Kyle's like, I'm obsessed with your mom. These people that were at the house, are they expecting us, right? Yeah, my good friend who knows the current owners made the arrangement. And Garcelle's looking at the houses. This is so beautiful here. And Sutton's pointing, this is the hill. We would ride our bikes down this hill. It seemed so big to me when I was little, I say. And Kyle's like, this seems like Forrest Gump. You can really see where she grew up with Kathy. Sorry, I don't know what. Sorry. Sorry. My this is the hill where I first got my neuropathy. I'd walk up that hill and really activate my neuropathy. Sorry. Guys, if we can't laugh at I'm not making sense. It's a long day. Garcelle at Talking Head says, this is the little part of the trip that I'm not sorry, this is serious, that I'm not looking forward to because it's the last place she saw her dad. Sorry, I don't know what the emotions are going to be like, and that scares me. So they pull up. It's like a pale yellow stucco with like this gray roof and black and white striped awnings over the windows on the front of the house. Sutton, you can tell, is a little tentative. And Kyle's like, are you changing your mind? She's like, yeah. And Garcelle's like, are you okay? And Sutton's like, it's just a house, And Garcelle's like, it's got memories. And Sutton's like, I know. This is such a loaded scene. Like, this is like Tennessee Williams. This is a play right here. The three of them get out of the car. And Sutton's like, should I just walk in the gate? And Garcelle's like, sure. They approach the front door and the owner comes out with a shotgun. No, just greets him. And Sutton's like, how are you? Thank you for letting us come in. I'm Sutton. And the owner's like, it's our pleasure. I'm Maureen Barnes. Well, I'm going to warn you, there might be some tears. And Maureen's like, of course, we want you to walk through the house, take as much time as you need. And Garcelle's like, that's really sweet of you. And Sutton in a Talking Head says, this is almost the last step for me in my healing journey about my father. Now, Sutton, it's 2002. That's 23 years. I don't think we really ever fully heal from losing a parent, and obviously losing a parent in this way, this fashion, where you don't get to say goodbye in any way, right? And but also, like Sutton, there's a lot of symbolism with Sutton. Think about Merce. Merce is in the purse. They went and they spread his ashes that flew on all the ladies. She's in a period of her life where I think she wants to try to let go of things and mourn. As we get older, we want to do that more. Sutton continues in a Talking Head. She's crying. She says, I want to say goodbye to him. I loved him so much, and I miss him every day. Sutton's showing him her room. And it just, it's a normal room. But to me, this is historical. This should be in the Smithsonian, where this should be in BravoCon, the room where Sutton grew up. So Sutton in a Talking Head says, I had the great privilege of being a daddy's girl. He didn't say a lot, but he liked me being in the kitchen with him, making chili, and mom was a terrible cook. Reba's not going to like that. She goes, she did like frozen fish sticks. Oh my God. We did frozen fish sticks. That was a meal. I was thinking about this episode made me think of so many things, like the frozen fish sticks. We would have frozen fish sticks and macaroni and cheese. Just straight like the box macaroni and cheese, and not the fancy Kraft kind, like the generic macaroni and cheese. And also my mom, this sounds so disgusting, but I miss it. And my mom would make tuna casserole. Tuna casserole was a big one. She didn't make, like, I haven't had, like, tuna casserole also seemed like a dish that she only made when we were kids. Like, she didn't make it throughout the rest of her life, but tuna, I guess she really wanted to punish us. Tuna casserole was a big one, and like your mom's spaghetti, it wasn't like Italian at all. It was just like basic spaghetti, but I'll always compare spaghettis to that spaghetti. Sutton shows her parents' rooms. In a Talking Head, she says, I would always like these scrambled egg sandwiches he would make, her father, on white bread with mayonnaise. People think they sound disgusting, but they are delicious. We just were very close. That's what I'm saying. Like, the disgusting thing, it's different when it's your parents. You're used to it. Oh, by the way, Mom, if you're listening to this podcast in heaven, or, make sure you give 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, Mom, and tell the other people in heaven to do that. But get this shit, you guys. This is probably why I was also picked on as a kid. She would send me to elementary school with Vienna sausages. I was the weird fucking kid with Vienna. Vienna sausages? Like, they're the little can, and you like peel the lid, like the little tin lid back, and they're in like goo, like ectoplasm, like plasm, like just goo. It's like goo, and like these little like tiny hot doggy things, and it was so disgusting. And she would send me to school with little Vienna sausages, and that, like, like you guys know my mom a little bit, like through the years, like that shocks me thinking back on it. I'm like, what was she thinking? Vienna sausages? Like, where did that even come from? Like, where did she think that was acceptable? Like certain days would be normal, like ham and cheese, like that. But then certain Vienna sausages, were those on days when she was just like, oh, life's too crazy. I'm sending you with Vienna sausages. They walk into the den with the vaulted ceiling and French doors looking out of the backyard. And Sutton's like, this is cool because my dad designed it and he also built it. And there was a wood burning stove. He would actually make pancakes on that. And we still see that's there. And Kyle's like, what was his name? And Sutton's like, John T. I'm gonna tell y'all something. And she points with her finger to a sofa. And she says, this is the last spot I saw my dad alive. And I can remember it so clearly. I was leaving for one of my last dance performances, actually. And I remember saying goodbye to him, and I tugged on his toe. He was real sick, very out of it, and he died the next day. In a talking head, she says, whenever I would pass the sofa when I was in high school or whenever, he would always hold his hand out and I would slap it. And he'd like do that. He'd give me thumbs up sometimes, and he was on that sofa that day and he was out of it. And I was leaving and he didn't put his hand out, which was just so strange. So I just grabbed his big toe and kind of pulled on it. And that's the last time I saw him. Oh, man. Sutton to the lady says, and I just, these memories where you think like I should have sat with him or something, right? Right? She starts to cry and she says, like beyond a toe tug, beyond a toe tug. And the three ladies hug each other. It was beautiful. And she's like, cause I'd come here to get some wine for the party after the performance, and just those little moments. And she cries and whispers, she goes, this is so weird, isn't it? This is what it's just, life is so weird. Sutton in a talking head says, I wish I had sat down even for 5 minutes, and I feel really bad that I didn't. That was just so selfish of me. Just 5 minutes, last time I saw him. Sutton to the lady says, I remember when he died, I wouldn't come in this room. It took me months. I would just stand over there. I wouldn't come in because the room is him. You never know. It's so weird when I go back to Arizona now. I sleep in the room where mom passed. And, it's because it's the nicer bed. So, and there was a time after mom died, dad was still just sleeping on the couch. And throughout mom's illness, he would sleep on the couch because she had her like hospital bed up. And which, by the way, you don't need to hear this shit. This is about Beverly Hills, but fuck it. She had this, she felt comfortable in this one chair. And, she was up and down a lot, and dad would sleep on the couch and she would have the room. And then when she passed, dad just never went back into the room and he just kept sleeping on the couch. And I was like, Dad, you got to eventually even if we need to get you a new bed, but it's not, you're getting older too. You can't be just sleeping on the couch. And he finally is back in there and redid some things, but we'll always sleep there. And it is, sometimes you're like, oh, this is bizarre. Like, this is literally the space. And then you kind of hope, you're like, oh man, it would be cool if she came and visited me. You're like, it would be cool. Like, there was a couple things where mom threatened she would come back and haunt us if we didn't do. And sometimes, there's one of the things that I didn't do, and I won't tell you what that is, because I kind of almost want my mom to come back and haunt me. Yeah, it's super bizarre. It's super bizarre. It's really hard. Like, the human mind can only take so many things, right? There are certain things that you're just like, I still can't necessarily grasp this. So Garcelle is like wiping away tears. It's very emotional. And Sutton's like, are you okay, Garcelle? And Garcelle's like, yeah. Sutton's like, I can't believe mom said when I said I'll give you the full report. Remember, she was like, no, you don't need to. And Kyle's like, she said I don't want it. And Garcelle goes, it's probably painful for her too. And that's probably, Garcelle she's the Reba whisperer. Sutton in a talking head says, I think that my mother had a rough go since my dad's death or maybe before. And I want the next phase of my mother's life to be a happy and peaceful and fun and not strained. And Sutton's back at the house and she says, this is like years of therapy that I didn't have to pay for. Well, you know what else? I say this with the Bravo men as well. You know what else is years of therapy? Years of therapy. and you can afford it, so do it. Sutton continues in a talking head. She means a lot to me, and I want to make things right. Things have not been right since my father died. So they leave the place, and they're coming out with smiles, so good. Now, back in Hollywood, Bose is getting dropped off at Grandmaster Recorder's Restaurant, Roof and 71 Studio Bar in the heart of Hollywood, and gets seated at a table for 3. Erica gets dropped next, and Bose is like, hey, boo thing. And Erica's like, you look so beautiful. And Dorit arrives last. Erica, they're all like, doing that like, you look great. Have you seen each other since Kathy's? Which, by the way, I had a nice time. And Bose is like, no, I had a great time. How could you have had a great time? You ended up talking about PJ being insane. But I mean, it's probably just super fun to do that at Kathy's place. They have a flashback to Kathy's elaborate themed Capri dinner table on her back patio with name tags stuck in half lemons. And Bose says, I got to change my place settings after Kathy. And Bose tells the ladies, God, I have to update you on so many things. And Erica's like, do it right now. And Dorit's like, spill, girlfriend. And Bose laughs, and Eric and Dorit are putting their heads together to listen. And Bose is like, you all are some really ridiculous people. Okay, so Keely and I have talked about having a baby. He actually never said the words, I love you, or, to each other. And Dorit gasps, oh! And Erica's like, wait a minute. What? And Bose is like, look at the both of you. And Erica's like, whoa, okay, back up. Hold on, I need a moment. And Dorit's like, I need 2 moments. And Bose is like, okay, 1, I need him to say it first. I want to know that that's what he's feeling. This is so, I will let him put a baby in me. It would also be nice to be told he loves me at some point after the baby. Bose says, I do love him. And Erica's like, I'm sure you do. And Bose is like, and there are moments when I want to say it, and I'm like, ah. And Dorit's like, he has to say it first. Dorit, I know the rules of love. Men must say it first. PJ said it first. But Erica goes, I kind of agree. In a talking head, Erica says, no disrespect, but having a baby, but not telling the man I love you? Okay, then all right, what are we doing? And Erica's like, what do you think's going on? And Bo's like, I don't know. And Dorit's like, I think it's as simple as, Keely, do you think it's weird that we haven't said I love you to one another? And Bose is like, no, I'm not. And Erica's like, hell no. What are you, fucking nuts? And Bose goes, no, because I don't want him to be that like, oh no, but I love you. Then I feel like it's not a good thing. And Erica's like, that's not a good idea. Don't force the situation. Bose in a talking head says, I am acting on the belief that Keely loves me. I know he's going to say the words, we love each other. I know that. They are really setting this scene up for like a future episode where we're going to see it. Like we all know that's going to happen. We flash back to their beach date earlier in the month where, you know, Bose says, do you consider that you're dating for marriage? And Keely's like, yeah, that's the only reason I date. Hey, big spender. Bose says, why not continue the conversation about baby and marriage in our future while we build the words together? I don't see anything wrong with that, really. I kind of do, but it's their relationship, right? So Bose has her moment, and now it's on to Dorit. Dorit's like, you guys, I spoke to PK. And Erica's like, what? Now you're dropping this on us, you motherfucker. And Bose is like, how are we even in this conversation? And Bose is like, what did he say? I picked up the phone and we start talking like we're friends. Ooh. I was like, please. And then we had phone sex. He's like, hey, let me see your bits and pieces. I got a funny meme to send you of my dick. Erica goes, oh, just like nothing, like your friends. And Bose is like, this is a lie. I mean, where's my lipstick? Dorit's like, I'm talking to him, and there is the father of my children, the man I believe no longer existed. Like, what are you? Hey, Dorit, it's me, PK. I just want to talk shit, you know. Are you watching the new season of Survivor? What is... This feels like, do we believe this? Do we believe that all of a sudden the old PK just called Dorit up, you know? And Erica's like, yeah, the man you fell in love with. And Dorit's like, let me not. I don't want you to get confused. And Erica's like, I'm not. Erica, this is not a reconciliation, okay? And Bose is like, so what was it? This is very much, I asked him, I said, I need you to just slow down a little bit and let's just communicate. We can't be at war and the kids be okay. And Bose is like, this is about you and not about the kids. You're asking him to slow down because you want to catch your breath. I need you. Well, you're absolutely right, but you have to understand something. I'm catching my breath is about the kids. Guys, I want to explain it so it's not confusing. It's very confusing. And Erica's like,
No, I'm just trying to ask where you ended up.
the conversation was a hell of a lot better and different than I thought it would be. And Bose is like, it feels like a trick, Dorit. And Dorit pauses. No, that I can guarantee you. Dorit don't get no tricked, I'll tell you that much. And she goes, because he's not that person. He's not. Yes, he is that. Oh my God, Dorit. Oh, what is going on, man? 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And Bose is like, all right. And Erica's like,
So who is this person?
and Dorit's like, that's PK raging. And she turns to Erica. She's like, stop side-eyeing. Stop side-eyeing me, Erica. Erica in a talking head says, PK is ruthless. He's ruthless in business, which means he'll be ruthless in the business of divorce. This is where Erica shines when she's helping friends with divorce. She knows her shit. She's like, I keep yelling from the mountaintops, hey, you need to take shelter. No one is listening to me. We are. We'll listen to you, Erica, for the first time in years. Like, my God, Dorit. He's tricky. He wants something from you. I'm going to give her the old PK razzle dazzle, you know. Bose says he needs to calm you down. This is the art of war. And Dorit's like, right. And Bose is like, calm you down so that you don't act, so that he can act. But what does that mean, though? What advantage is that? I don't understand the advantage. And Bose says the advantage is that he wants to have the upper hand. If you are cornered like an animal, you're going to strike. He's afraid of how smart you are and how you will strike. I'm afraid of how smart Dorit is. Erica says,
He's calming you down so he can run the bases on you.
and Bose is like, right, because legally, he can go around town and scoop up everybody so that you don't have any good counsel. So that means if you have like a small conversation with a divorce attorney and you don't go with that divorce attorney, but you've already talked to them, and then say Dorit calls that divorce attorney, that person can't rep Dorit because they've already had a conversation with PK. So people have done this in big marriages, small marriages, like they'll just snap up every divorce attorney in a town. So it's done to the woman that the woman can't get good representation in their divorce. Bose in a talking head says, Dorit needs to keep her eyes open. A divorce is going to come and take her totally by surprise. She's going to get the shorter end of the stick. You just can't stand still and wait for him to do things to you. You can't be a victim. I'm putting Bose in charge of Dorit's life at this point. Dorit says, you think this is a game? And Bose is like, yes, wake up. Whoa! And Bose is like, I'm just saying, holy shit, Dorit says. What do you think we're doing here, Dorit? You also just said he left this like insane 7-page email saying you better like start paying for shit. He doesn't talk to his kids for like weeks at a time. Yes, this is not a game. We're back in Augusta. Finally, I never thought I'd be happy to be back in Augusta mourning the loss of Sutton's father. But like Dorit, I want to pound my head against a wall. Sutton's FaceTiming her mom, who's at home. Remember, Sutton's mom lives like in Sutton's backyard. And Sutton's like, hi, do you have that Parmesan cheese, Mom? And Reba's like, see, I couldn't open up your messages about the ingredients. Why don't you? So 1 sec. This is how unskilled I am at voices, folks. I found myself locked into the Dorit higher range. And I couldn't do my stupid Reba, but I got it. I paused and I practiced. See, I couldn't open up your messages about those ingredients. Why don't you go in the kitchen and look at the ingredients, see if you need anything? And Sutton, is holding back all these emotions, going, okay, I'll see you soon, Mom. In Kyle's room, she's sitting in bed FaceTiming Kathy. Kathy's like, hello? I thought you were Kyle. Oh, it is Kyle. I was just going outside. It's beautiful here. Where am I? Well, we had a little dinner, the girls and I, the other night. See, the flowers. She's on her patio, and Kyle's like, yeah, beautiful. So don't forget that we're FaceTime right now, and don't put the phone to your ear. So she's FaceTiming and acting like she's on a normal phone. So Kyle's staring at Kathy's eardrum. And Kathy goes, oh, okay. So I'm sitting in the sun. Hold on. Am I doing this right? And she's showing herself how to do it. And Kyle's like, by the way, Mo and Portia leave today for Europe. And remember, they had that scene where Mauricio's like, Portia and I traveled to London. We're picking up her best friend. And they were either going to Madrid or Mallorca. I'm going to do hard drugs at the club scene with my kid. Kyle to Kathy goes, he's dropping her off like a guided tour where they're chaperoned, and then he goes off to like 4 days to Switzerland for like a meditation thing. No, it's probably for some like sex thing. And then he goes to meet PK and Glenn in Saint-Tropez. He's going to meet PK. Hello, PJ, it's me, Mauricio. I'm just making sounds at this point. Kathy goes, oh, that's great to go and meditate and be all spiritual. And Kyle goes, be all zen, and they go party and undo it all. I know. Garcelle is sitting with Sutton's dog, June Carter Cash. And Garcelle's like, where's your mother, June? Let's go find her. Sutton goes into the kitchen, and Sutton's like, did my mother text you? And Avi's like, no. And Sutton's like, she didn't get there's no. And she's grabbing a bag, and she's like, gluten-free. And she makes an angry face. I asked for a specific kind, Avi. Then I needed, and she picks up a cucumber. Cucumber? There's no cucumber in this salad. So, Sutton's Suttoning. And Sutton's like, Garcelle goes, how can I help? And Sutton's like, you can't. I'm just checking on these groceries. And Garcelle's like, where's Reba? And Sutton to Avi, ignoring Garcelle, goes, so I texted her and she couldn't read it. She couldn't open up my notes. I say. And Avi said, I said once you get on your Wi-Fi, you could open it. It just needs to download. I thought she got it done. And Sutton gives Avi a death glare. I'm going to give you a Reba look, Avi. Sutton's very annoyed. I was very, very, very specific. You're going to get a spanking now, Avi. Sutton to Talking Head goes, I love crab cakes. I say, my dad always made the best crab cakes, the best. And he gave me his recipe. So Sutton to Avi holding up some butter lettuce. I said I needed iceberg lettuce. The most important part, Avi. Jesus, shit for brains. Sutton continues in the Talking Head. My mother loved them so much when he would make them, even the day after he died. She made me make them for Christmas. Oh my God, I forgot. Even the day after he died, she made me make them for Christmas. Your dad's dead, but I would love some crab cake. Wow. And she goes, I burned them. Yeah, you burned them. Whoa. Sutton to Avi goes, we have to have iceberg lettuce. And Avi's like, I'll run and get it. Upstairs, Kyle knocks on Garcelle's door and walks in, and Garcelle's like, Son's a little stressed out, and I don't know how it's going to go. And Kyle's like, I told her to have zero expectations. This is about getting it off her chest, and that's it. The woman's 82 years old. It's not about changing her. Kyle in the Talking Head says, Sutton is a little on edge, and I think that's understandable. She has been putting off this conversation that she has wanted to have with her mom for a long time, so I think it's really building up, and she's scared. That's what this is all about. She's scared. Totally. In the kitchen, Sutton's like, I'm waiting on my mother. And Avi's like, should we send Cheryl? Sutton has a housekeeper there. Not just Avi, a housekeeper. To check up on her? And Sutton's like, yeah. And Avi's like, Cheryl, can you go check up on Reba, please? Over at Reba's house in the backyard, Reba's like, okay, Dixie, I'm leaving you for a while, but I'll be back in a little while. Don't worry. Dixie is this gorgeous blonde Afghan hound. Juliana, who takes the notes, I didn't know that was an Afghan hound. I didn't even know that was a type of dog, but a beautiful dog. And, just beautiful. So I wish we saw more of Dixie. Cheryl at Reba's door is like, she's ready for you to come over. And Reba's like, well, I'm on my way. Reba follows Cheryl. Okay, bye, Dixie. Woo! Welcome to the humidity. Sutton's chopping in the kitchen furiously. Not Avi, food. Reba comes in the back door. Hello, I'm here. Sutton doesn't look up. Good. And Reba's like, oh, pickled okra? Sutton ignores her. Reba's like, I love pickled okra. Sutton's still not looking at Reba. Well, do you want to have a seat? Sit. I want to make the crab meat patties while we're talking. Reba goes to sit, and on the table, Sutton has these fabrics spread out. And Sutton's like, this is my capsule collection. And Reba's like, yo, what? My capsule collection, Mom. My all-sustainable green line I do for Sutton Brands. And Reba goes to look at it. She's like, oh, yeah. I didn't even know what capsule collection meant until Sutton talked about it. Like, does Old Navy have a capsule collection? Sutton in the Talking Head says, the past 2 years I've been working very hard on my new business. We have started Sutton Green Line, and under that I'm going to do a series of capsules. We have a flashback a month earlier, Sutton on Zoom with her business partner. I met her business partner. He's a very interesting dude, very curious guy. He was asking me tons of questions because I was there in the green room over at Jeff Lewis because she was on the first hour. Very interesting dude. So they're talking about the capsule collection and that flashback. Sutton in the Talking Head says, for almost all my life, I've been wanting acceptance from my mother. She was always a career woman, and I'm so proud of her. I just wanted it to be reciprocated. Reba touching the clothing going, is this real? And Sutton's like, yeah, it's real leather. Yeah. And we see the badge says name 'em on the clothing. Son's like, that's a jumpsuit. It's really cute on. I tried it on last week. And Reba's like, it would look awful on me. And Sutton snaps, well, it's very complicated and it's very intense work because every single piece that you see has a code that has to go to London because that's where they're based. And it's super fast and it all ships out from Houston. It's not easy. Reba's like, that reminds me of ground beef. Ground beef is labeled ground in the U.S., and it's not. It's made in Cuba. It's made in Cuba. Jesus Christ. I was like, this is getting political. We need to make ground beef here in the U.S. of A. All our ground beef is being shipped out. Foreign ground beef. Sutton in a talking head takes a deep sigh. She, in the scene, goes, well, I'm going to take these products. I don't care what they are, where they're made, because I'm saving them, going to the landfill. I'm doing something good. And Reba's like, well, I like that. And Sutton's like, so it's not like ground beef, mother. Meanwhile, Kyle and Garcelle, they're coming down the stairs and whispering. She's like, oh, good. They're talking. They're only on the clothing part. Okay, but still, so they're spying. There's a really funny shot of them, like ears up against the wall. Son's like, okay, I want to cut up some lettuce real fast. What would you like to drink, Mom? Do you want me to help? And Reba's like, no. Do you realize I live by myself? Do you want me to get out the crab meat? And Sutton quite clearly, she's struggling to answer her calmly. She's like, yes, please. That would be great. Thank you. What time are y'all leaving tomorrow? And Sutton's like, our flight's at 2:30. 2:30? She reaches in the freezer for the good ice. And she's like, why are these spoons in here? Are we having caviar? And Sutton's struggling with her patience. No, Mother. Reba's like, who put this ice into the ice maker? This is bad ice in the good ice. And she's like, don't tell me. I already know. It would be funny if they said it at the same time. That's shit for brain Avi. Sutton's biting her lip. And Sutton's like, have you eaten yet, Mom? Reba pouring from this huge Costco-size, gallon of Kettle One. She's like, no. And Sutton's like, well, I have these little dip things. I don't like stuff like that. Sutton blinks hard. Reba sits with her drink. And Sutton's like, so I was talking to John Clark last night. That's her brother. We have a flashback to one day earlier where Sutton's like, I don't know if Mom gets me or understands what I'm doing. And John's like, well, I think so. Really? I mean, she didn't say that. Well, you just have ESP. And John's like, yeah, you can tell. Well, I can't tell. I feel like she's so guarded. Her brother says, well, think about what she does for a living. And Sutton's like, I know, but we are not her patients. That's like they're her children. Sutton in the scene to Reba, her mom says, I just don't know if Mom understands what I do or is proud at all. And Reba's just listening. Why? Why are you making a face, Mom? Well, I don't understand that. You don't understand what? I don't understand any of that. Any of what? Why would you think I wouldn't be proud of you? I guess it's because you don't say it. I don't need to. Well, maybe I need for you to. Okay, I'm proud of you. See, to me, it's kind of like saying I love you. It's so trite. It's so inconsequential. And people just say, oh, I love you. It's overused. Listen, there is a point to be made for that, but it's also hard when your daughter is telling you something and you're like, it's trite. It's trite. In this moment, it shouldn't be trite. I understand what she's saying, and there is this overuse of these things without the actual, that almost takes away the meaning from it, but not in this moment. Garcelle and Kyle are eavesdropping. Reba is like, I think your prelude to the point is, I was the way I was because I always wanted to be a professional working woman. And that got impressed on you. And so you have actually become me as a professional working woman. Wow. That'll be $100. Which insurance should I bill? Because you just got therapized by Reba. Son's like, yeah, it took me time because I wanted to stay home with the children. Well, that's fine. Well, you gave me grief on it for a little while. So what does that matter? You did it anyway. Yeah, and I don't think it's trite to tell your children that you're proud of them. I don't think it's trite to tell your children that you love them. And Reba's like, I thought about that because that seemed to be an issue with not only you, but some of your friends. Especially that one from, not around these parts. I have to go back to the way I was raised, which was World War II post. And in those days, like, nobody ever told me I was pretty when I was growing up. And it didn't matter whether I was pretty or ugly. I kept going because I was the way it was in those days. Remember, in those days, mothers put the babies in the crib and they cried. And son's like, okay, well, I guess if it's tried to you, I certainly don't want to make you do anything that is not real for you. I wanted to let you know how I feel. Well, thank you very much for telling me that. Well, you know, I have my show, Mom. I'm doing a fashion show for this capsule. And it's a big deal for me, and I know that you don't like travel, but it would be really great. Well, I don't mind traveling at all. And Sutton looks perplexed. Okay. And Reba's like, I could come to California. I think I could do that. And Sutton's like, well, that would speak volumes to me. Reba's like, does that mean I'd have to sleep in Philip's room? Remember, she called Philip weird. Do I have to sleep in that weird Philip's room? The weird son? Smelly, smell all of the balls and stuff like that. Woo! Weird Philip. Oh, Grandma Reba in Weird Philip's room. Oh, I'm going to pass out. Just the smells. Finding some dirty nudie magazines under the mattress. Woo-wee. Oh, Weird Philip. Son's like, well, where would you like to sleep, Mom? Oh, I don't know if the aquarium's still in there because I can't sleep without fish in there. And Sutton closing her eyes like and smiling. Well, that's Mama. She's like, I just want better. And Reba's like, we could do better. And Sutton's like, I know we can. And Reba's like, we can. It's really beautiful, actually. And Sutton smiles and nods her head. And that was like, that was a lot. You could tell Reba gave a little, she wasn't overflowing, but she gave a little. Said she would come to LA, so that means we're going to get Reba at the season finale. What if Reba gets into it with PK? PK's like, I'm finally back home. And Reba's like, get your fat ass out of here, you mother trucker. Get the fuck out of here. Sutton, tugging his head, says, I'm just overwhelmed that she's saying that we can do better, and it gives me such hope for our relationship going forward. She tells her mom, I'm coming in for a hug. You don't have to hug me back, but I'm coming in. Well, that means I have to stand up. No, you don't, Mama. I'll hug you. She bends down and wraps her arms around her mom, and Reba does it back. And Son's like, and then I'm going to make crab cakes. And that was a good one, talking about the hug. Sutton pulls away, and Reba flaps her hand in front of her face like people do to stop crying. Like, stop it. And Son's like, what? And Reba's like, your hair was in my face. You got all little dust mites in your hair. Sutton laughs. Okay, I'm gonna bring my friends down now. And she goes down and they're run away to so they don't get caught spying. But Sutton oh, I'm calling you down. I know what you're all doing. Garcelle grabs Sutton closer and whispers, are you okay? And Sutton whispers back, yes. It all went really well. It was very calm. She's going to come to the fashion show of my capsule collection. Garcelle whispers, I'm so proud of you. Yes, thank you. Kyle gives Sutton a hug. Do you feel better? I do. Actually, I do. Now I have to make these crab cakes. Reba pours herself another long draw of vodka. Reba's like, oh, I have to get wasted. Too emotional. The ladies help in the kitchen. Kyle feeds Sutton her vodka grapefruit while her hands are busy. Dinner is ready and they all sit to eat. And Kyle's like, Sutton, I'm excited to try your crab cakes. This is that's never mind. Garcelle goes, thank you, Sutton. And Reba's like, this salad is good. And Sutton smiles, thank you. And I leave here with a smile on my face. And I want to be a better daughter. And Reba's like, and a friend. And Sutton's like, and a friend. And Reba's like, yeah, good. And Sutton's like, so I'm leaving y'all with cleanup duty. Goodbye. And Kyle's like, I love it. Go get that shit for Brain Avi to clean up. Jeez. Anyways, you could tell that both women were in a much better mood after that conversation. Next time on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, we have Dorit inviting friends over for, she's like, 4th of July, we do a BBQ. And Bose is in a scene with, Sutton and Garcelle going, come on into the house. And Sutton's like, I'm not comfortable here. Garcelle holding Sutton's hand going, she isn't. And Bose is like, y'all want to cuddle her. And Garcelle looks really annoyed with Bose. And Garcelle's like, quit being Dorit's spokesperson, Bose. And then in another scene, Kyle, I think to Bose, says, I'm having a conversation with her and everything she says, you have to back up. And Kyle flings her head, yep. And Sutton's like, you're such, and then another scene where Sutton and Dorit, Sutton's like, you're such a bitch. And Dorit's like, don't call me a bitch in my own home, for fuck's sake. Poor Jagaloo is like, I'm learning so many different words today. And then we see Sutton going, I'm leaving. And she goes and Kyle follows her. And Dorit's like, don't be a douche. Don't be a douche. We don't use the word douche. You're being a douchebag, Sutton. Well, that was a lot of fun, folks, and it was highly dramatic as well, and a little sad, and all of the range of emotions that we experience in life. Thank you for being here. Come back on Friday for the Summer House recap. We got the Traders recap over the weekend with Bergie, and that is it. I hope you have a great Thursday, you guys. Wish me luck. Bye. How do I turn this thing off? Oh, there it is.